Mm, hey, hi. I am MS Trainer. So I am here to provide you training in design patterns. So let us discuss about design pattern now. Okay. So we know that the design patterns are divided uh, in three parts. That is a creational, structural, and behavioral. Total number of design patterns. I mean, gang of design patterns. Uh, Gang of 4 design patterns are 24. Okay, so these creational, structure, and behavioral design patterns are further divided in other parts. So this prototype design pattern is the part of creational design pattern. Okay, so what is the creational design pattern? Creational design pattern is the we are hiding the creating objects and its implementation details about the objects are being created. We are hiding all these details from the client, okay, from the end user. So prototype design pattern and its applications in software building blocks we will learn it, and we will follow the training slides and coding samples and video tutorial for this training. We are available on YouTube also. We are the experienced team of corporate professionals to enhance your skills and sharpen them using these trainings. Okay, we are excellent in delivering software and building solutions too. So now let's start with the prototype pattern. What is prototype? Prototype is kind of copy, okay, clone of current object. So prototype pattern is one of creational design pattern in gang of 4 design patterns. In this pattern, basically we are creating duplicate object or clone of current object. So we can create the object using new operator also. Okay, but this prototype design pattern is used when you want to enhance application performance and when creation object is costly or complex, like database object. Okay, so like other design patterns, prototype design pattern hides object creation details from the client. So why we are using this prototype pattern? We are using this to return a new object that is initialized with values copied it from prototype. So in the prototype pattern we are not creating non-initialized object, we are creating the initialized object, and from where it will copy the values, it will copy the values from the sample object from your prototype. Okay, so suppose you have an object as student. It has first name, last name, and father's name, and grade, and hobbies, etc. So when we are creating a new object from this, the new object will have all the details as what it had in its previous object. Okay, so basically where we use it, it is used in computer graphics, CAD, and computer games because of the creation of object is costly. Okay, so now let's discuss the UML diagram of prototype design pattern. It has a prototype, concrete prototype, and client. Prototype, it declares an interface for cloning itself. So what is this concrete prototype? It implements the operation which was in the prototype. I mean, it is implementing the operation for cloning itself. And what is the client? It creates a new object and do cloning of object itself. It is UML of prototype pattern. We see on the top it has prototype and it has one operation clone, and we can say next sub interface of class derived class is concrete prototype, where it is implementing the clone operation. We see that on the other hand the client is creating the object of this prototype. Now let's move over to code. On the top there is the using statements and namespace, then class and static void main. Okay, so we have this abstract class desktop. What is this? It is prototype. Okay, it has one abstract method, public abstract desktop clone, and this desktop class will be inherited by other derived classes, where these derived classes will have the implementation of the clone method of desktop class. So we have this flat desktop, it is implementing, overriding the method of the desktop class. But we see internally it is using the member wise clone. So member wise clone is the protected method of the object class. So this takes care of cloning your prototype objects. Okay, similarly we have this cabinet desktop, semi-flat desktop and Chinese desktop. So now let's come to our main program. We have this flat desktop object creating. We are passing in it its ID, like I am passing in it ID as I. So I am using l_flat desktop product1 dot clone. So it will execute its clone method, what was defined in the flat desktop class. Okay, so it will return the clone of flat desktop. So let us see now that these objects are really different or not. Let us execute their get hashcode method. Okay, so when we execute the get hashcode method, it will have the different hash codes. I can say it is the memory address in the user defined format of the object. Okay, so l_flat desktop product dot get hashcode and l_flat desktop clone1 dot get hashcode will have the different hash codes. Okay, and now I'm printing. Similarly you can do for cabinet desktop and semi-flat desktop and Chinese desktop. Okay, this way we are implementing the prototype design pattern. So prototype design pattern is doing nothing, but it is just cloning the object. Okay, and while cloning it is copying the existing details of the prototype object. It is a definition of. So where we use it in the .NET framework. So we have the iClonable interface on the objects that are used as prototypes. If you know that you need to create the object of them, then implement your class iClonable. But we did not do this. Okay, but iClonable interface exists. There are two types of clone operations: deep copy and shallow copy. So what is a shallow copy? Shallow copy only copies properties of the object but no object references. Okay, so shallow copy copies the non-static properties of the object and it does not copy the object references. I mean, you have the one object as object 1 and you created another object using prototype pattern as object 2, and it has one object reference like object reference 1. So both of these objects, object 1 and object 2, will be referencing the same object reference. It will copy the object reference, but it will not create the new object or the object references. But deep copy copies the prototype object and all the object references, but it needs some additional implementation in your method. Okay, so I can say shallow copy is easy to implement because the object based class has a member wise clone method that returns a shallow copy of the object. Creating deep copy can be more complicated because some objects are not readily copied. And what are those? These are the object references. So you will need to do some additional implementation for them. Okay, so prototype design pattern is used in .NET this way. So we can see one example is as the object serialization scenarios. Suppose if you have prototypical object that has been serialized to persistent storage, that can be persistent storage, disk or database. So now you write some method, okay, where you create the object or copies of the current object. So if when you are copying, then this new object will have the same information as what was in the serialized object. Okay, so now we know that what is the prototype design pattern. So I am here to solve your queries and questions. You can write me at mstriner02@gmail.com or mstriner02@yuitsolutions.com, and contact number is 9928363065. So in the next slides,